Greetings, sisters and brothers. Milton Alimadi. I salute all fellow Pan-Africans around the world. I'm a publisher of Black Star News, and I'm also adjunct professor of African history at John Jay College here in New York City. Today, I'd like to briefly address the several hours long live speech by the Ugandan dictator of 32 years, General Yoweri Museveni. He kept talking about I, me, the typical evidence or manifestations of a narcissistic megalomaniac. He did not take any blame himself or responsibility personally for any of the challenges that Uganda faces today or that Uganda has experienced in the last 32 years. But this is nothing new. People who followed Museveni, who know Museveni, know this to be classic, typical General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. So he's talking about a bygone era, as if he's still fighting against Idi Amin. He referred to his wars and victories over Joseph Kony and the ADF. If these are the issues that concern Ugandans today in the 21st century. So let me just recap a few of the points that this US-supported dictator of 32 years made today. First of all, on the assassination of Mohammed Kirumira, the hero police officer who denounced corruption in the Uganda police force and said officers had been turned into guns for hire, instead of embracing Kirumira last year and weeding out the corruption that this brave officer had pointed out and publicly spoke about, Kirumira was prosecuted and he was convicted on some concocted charges related to insubordination. And we wrote several columns on Black Star News about it, particularly in February, including by a column by Vincent Magombe. And Magombe feared that Kirumira would not be safe. So it was not shocking that this individual who wanted to stand up for Uganda was brutally shot last night in Kampala while driving with a female passenger. So what did the dictator say today? He said these kind of so-called urban crimes, that's what he classifies, this brutal assassination, including the assassination of Abiriga, member of parliament, Ibrahim Abiriga, shot similarly while in his car with his brother in June 2018 by motorcycle riding assassins, professional assassins. Kawesi, Andrew, killed last year in March the same way by motorcycle riding assassins who are obviously planning and then carrying out these executions. And he makes it as if it's a random crime. He said it's urban crime and that they will be resolved once cameras are installed in Kampala. But people aren't buying his lies anymore. Because what happened when the dictator went to the scene of the execution of Kirumira last night? He was heckled, so much so that his Special Forces Command guards told the reporters on the scene to turn off their cameras. People have had enough of this dictator's lies and brutalization of Uganda's citizens. Enough is enough. Ugandans, let's stand strong, domestically in and in diaspora. We will continue challenging the United States, Great Britain, and any other country that still supports this dictator of 32 years in Uganda. What did he say about Bobi Wine and the other members of parliament who were brutalized beginning August 13 in Arua, when all they did was go there to campaign for an opposition candidate, Cassiano Wadri, who defeated the candidate of the ruling party NRM dictatorship. Mr. Tepero, even though by the time the election was held, August 15, Wadri, together with Bobi Wine, Francis Zake, and the other MPs and former MPs, had already been incarcerated, together with over 30 other supporters. What did he say? He referred to the incident where these individuals were brutally beaten, arrested, and tortured as a, quote, fight between Bobi Wine and the police. Ugandans, this is unacceptable. We should not allow this dictator to insult our intelligence before the entire world with this kind of demeaning reference and dismissal of the brutality committed by the Special Forces Command, under his command, of course, and under his instructions. What did he say about Uganda's youth? 85% of whom are unemployed. He dismissed them as indisciplined. He said they burn tires, they beat women because people pay them money. He said he's already solved 50% of the youth problem because they are alive. In the past, they would have been dead. They would not have lived to grow to become healthy youth. So the mere fact that they're alive has already solved 50% of the problem. Now they have no property, they have no capital, and they have no income. That is the only remaining problem. Without adding that, these conditions exist because of his own failure. And the fact that he pays more attention and diverts resources towards militarizing Uganda. Why is it that the thousands of soldiers who protect him, why are they employed? Why are they employed? Why are the youth not employed? Because he's directing resources at the machinery of militarism. That is a problem in Uganda. And yet, he blames the victims, the youth, for their situation. Who else did he blame? He blamed the World Bank as well for slowing Uganda's infrastructure development, when in fact, without the World Bank and the hundreds of millions of dollars that are flowed to Uganda from the World Bank, his regime would not exist today. So he said the World Bank is to blame. Why? Because they focus too much on women's rights, homosexual rights, and on education. Okay, I would like to see how the World Bank responds to this. Talk about somebody biting the very hand that feeds them. What else did he say? He blamed tendacious and mendacious media and their foreign supporters and foreign elements and the opposition for all the other troubles that may exist in Uganda today. But it's nothing about the failure of General Yoweri Museveni and one-man rule and dictatorship and 32 years of tyranny in Uganda. Sister and brother, this man really occupies a different universe. He's totally not appreciating the winds of change occurring around the world and in Africa. The changes that have swept Zimbabwe, the changes that have swept South Africa, the ongoing transition and changes in Ethiopia. Somehow he thinks he's immune to this and that he exists in his own world. Well, the youth of Uganda are not going to accept this, because if he were in that same position, if he were a young person today in Uganda, one of the 85% unemployed, he would not accept it. He would not tolerate being insulted and called that he is indisciplined. He would agitate for change. And that is why Bobi Wine is leading that generation. And us, who are a bit older, appreciate that. And we will support the youth. We will do everything in our power to put pressure on the United States and the United Kingdom and to urge them to part ways with this megalomaniac dictator who's clearly very selfish and kept referring to his own personal achievements rather than looking at the future of Uganda and telling Ugandans, when will he pave the way for the youth and allow them to take the realms of power and leadership. So, sisters and brothers, those are my brief observations on the presentation by Dictator Yoweri Museveni today. I will write a much more detailed response in an essay form to General Museveni's presentation today. But basically, he confirmed to the world what Ugandans have been saying for a very long time, that this is a man who thinks only about himself. It's all about I, me, about Yoweri Museveni and not about Uganda. Thank you, sisters and brothers. Stay strong. May the Creator continue to protect you and your family. Stay united. One Uganda, beyond one man. United beyond Yoweri Museveni.